everybody. Welcome to Live at Chance's House, and welcome once again, season 3. And I can't tell you how excited I am today. I've got a brand new friend that I've met online who's come on to the show, and he's just an absolutely fantastic singer-songwriter from North Carolina. Everyone say hello to Travis Shallow. Travis, how are you?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, awesome. So, look, we were talking just a little bit ago and kind of how 2020 has been, to your point, a barrel of lemons, and what are we doing to make lemonade out of it? I think we have a very similar story in the sense that, hey, this thing happened and we had to make something good out of it happen. You know, what's been going on with you in the last year? Tell me a little bit about yourself and how this whole thing got started.
Well, I'm based out of Wilmington, North Carolina, and last March, like most songwriters, you know, the rug just got pulled out from all of us. And I realized kind of early on, I saw the painting on the wall. I'm like, I gotta pivot here and get something going on. I knew that our industry and our line of work was gonna be the last thing back up and running. I just kind of saw that early on. And so I saw some people just start to get some live streams up and running. A lot of them, you know, actually every single person that knows 3 chords in the guitar was instantly live streaming on all this on all the social media platforms pretty much right away. So I didn't you know jump right on it, but when I was seeing all that, I'm like, okay, like the phone audio could leave more to be desired. So, and I've got a little home studio here that I've been you know slowly upgrading for about the last 10 years. Had an old mirrorless camera here that me and my girl bought a couple years ago that was we bought to, like, you know, do my own promo, that type of thing. But like a lot of good ideas, it was just getting dusty on a shelf. So so I dusted off this nicer camera. I was like, okay, if I take this studio mics, nicer camera, get on YouTube, figure out how all this stuff wires together, maybe I could actually put together a sustainable live stream that maybe when people are scrolling or what have you, they see something that sounds good and that looks good, they might stick around. And that was the initial kind of on-ramp to it. But equally as important, dude, that first month, man, I was just mentally not doing well, man. Just, it was daunting thinking about, I had a new single coming out on Cavity Search Records. It was a single that was meant to be released end of March. We ended up pushing that to June. That was a song called Let It Pass. And so I was like getting ready to release a new song, go out and you know, promote it, and live shows, the whole 9. It was the first song released on Cavity Search Records too. It was a brand new relationship with them. They're based out of Portland, Oregon. And so then all of a sudden the brakes were just, you know, hit. So from a mental standpoint, I'm like, I need some structure here, man, because I found myself just, you know, basically going from room to room and reading. I'd read in this room, go to another room, read in there, and I just, days were starting to blend together. It was just wasn't good. So I said, look, I'm gonna do 2 days a week at the same time. And another thing I kind of realized is nobody's got structure right now. Everything's up in the air. Maybe if I make some structure for myself and do, okay, 2 times a week, I'm gonna sit in this chair right here and play some songs and keep it loose, see what happens. Well, that was last March, and every Wednesday and Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, I sit in this chair and I stream to the socials, and we're 116 episodes in. So that's kind of where we're at.
That's pretty cool. So I mean, I guess this bears the obvious question, but I'll ask anyway. I mean, so this is your full-time gig?
Yeah. I've been doing this full time for about 15 years.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. And so when you say full time, have you actually had the opportunity where you've done like maybe regional or even semi-national tours where you go out, you play everywhere you can, or do you stay mostly there in North Carolina?
It's been a little bit of both. I've definitely done some bigger runs. It seemed like every album cycle has been a little bit different. I put out there was a band of mine called A Few Good Liars, and we did a record that actually turns 10 years old this year. We recorded down in Oxford, Mississippi, and we did some more traveling with that group. And it seemed once that band kind of fizzled out, I went and did a self-titled solo record. And so each kind of album, and that solo record was followed up by a full band record. And so each one I've kind of done differently. But yeah, right now I'm kind of the 6-hour radius from Wilmington right now. Or before the pandemic, I had stripped it back down to a duo, which is me and a accompanying guitar player. Excuse me. And we were kind of playing the seated ticketed listening rooms. That was kind of like our bread and butter. But and we were just starting to hit the road more, and kind of gave us a reason to hit the road more. And then March, brakes got hit.
Yeah. Well, do you so I was talking to a really good friend of mine a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I did an interview with him, and he's also a full-time musician, and he was the one that kind of inspired me to do the live stream because I saw him doing an awesome job, and I was like, I want to do that. And I definitely fancy myself better than being just a 3-chord strum guy, but I have a lot that I could be better at. One of the things I've realized though over this last year is I've played at least every week. I practice now at least 3 or 4 times a week. I'm learning new stuff. I'm challenging myself, and I've developed a pretty decent little audience. I asked him this same question. I'll ask you. You going to keep doing the live stream even if, let's say, everything tomorrow it stops? We're good. Coronavirus dead. You're going to keep doing the stream?
Some version of it for sure. And that was a silver lining I didn't initially see. It was kind of definitely a survival mechanism early on. And then because I had to get used to, there's nobody in front of you. It's a camera and you're in your living room. It's in its instinctual form, not normal, for a performer that plays for a living in front of people. And the noise that people make after your song is over is kind of how you gauge how things are going. You're reading the room, and when you're singing into a camera to a virtual audience, there was a learning curve. But as I kind of got into it, we started to catch a stride and started to actually like it more than I thought I would. But also, from a financial standpoint, we just had, I got to say this because I saw, not that I was starting to kind of get more jaded before this whole pandemic thing and the live stream thing started, but some shows are great, some shows leave more to be desired for as far as crowd coming, and where are our pockets of people and this type of thing. And what my live stream showed me is that people need live music, man.
They do.
They need music. And it was a shot in the arm for me. And once people started showing up and I kept this schedule, and people right away started, once they realized I was on the schedule every Wednesday and Saturday, people were DMing me and messaging me. They're like, look, our family or whatever they're doing, they schedule their day and their plans around my live stream. So it started to be an anchor in other people's lives, which just felt great, man, because it was what I just did for myself to begin with. And with the hopes of, financially being able to stay afloat this way. So it was like necessity matched equally for my own mental health. But the silver linings that came from it, man, are undeniable. So to answer your question, some version of this live stream is going to keep going. I'll probably dial it back from once a week to twice a week. I was just on my live stream, what's the date? Thursday. Yeah, yesterday. my Wednesday live stream, I was telling them I kind of had a break on the news. I'm like, look, guys, I'm announcing summer and fall dates real soon. And there's just no way to do a Saturday evening live stream anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but I said, look, we'll probably be dialing this back and probably keep the Wednesday one going for a while. And look, there are no rules. Like, look, if you're a musician, a songwriter, it's part of you that got into this line of work. So nobody's telling you what to do. You know what I mean? There, you can kind of make your own way. So pop-up live streams aren't off the table. We don't have to stick to really anything. If I want to do another one on a Sunday when I get back from a string of shows, perfect. But I tell you what, but it's kind of like a video newsletter too. Like, what if you have a new single out, you have new merch? Like, I've put out more merch in the last year, like live stream merch. You know, we did mugs and glow in the dark cups and tote bags and 3/4 shirts. Like, just because we had a live stream, we had something to do. Email just popped in with another merch order. That's what that noise just was. So it's funny, man. It's so in a lot of ways it was with a year that I thought was going to be a complete halt on momentum was the exact opposite.
That's so cool. I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm thinking about the same thing. Cause like, you know, my show started off on Thursdays and then I was doing Thursdays and Sundays and then football season came around. So I had to kill Thursdays and Sundays. And then I went to Fridays and now I think I'm going to stop doing Fridays. I'm going to go to Wednesdays now because I think I need to change up the algorithm and get some more people in. Yeah. But, you know, you talk about having some form of that live stream. And one of the things I was thinking about is that I'm gonna do this from my, you know, my buddy's bar. I'm gonna do the first time I can get out. I'm gonna grab my laptop, a camera, and my mixing board, and I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna do it live, and I'm still gonna stream it because I think that would be cool as hell.
Yeah, you know, it's not a lot of bands are doing that. If you notice, like a lot of touring bands that are playing these, you know, half capacity or whatever socially distant shows, there's a streaming option that goes along with it. And if you're picking up the cues, I think a lot of bands are going to be doing that, because just because things are open back up doesn't mean everybody feels comfortable right back to it. I mean, people are getting vaccinated and that's a whole other conversation, and some people feel good about it, some people don't, some people are immune compromised. There's not a one size fits all for like coming out of this thing. So
100%. Yeah, I just had to refund tickets that it's killing me because I'm kind of just got out of the vaccination part and I'm not quite ready yet. I will be, but one of my favorite bands in the world is Steely Dan, and I just had to refund my tickets because they, instead of waiting until like maybe even August, they got their show coming up like at the 1st of June, and I'm like, come on, guys. You're killing me. And so, I mean, I get it.
A lot of bands are chomping at the bit to get back out there. And it's, like I said, man, I'm kind of in a position where like, whatever your system is, I'm not knocking it, you know?
Oh yeah.
Everybody's got to make their own decisions on this. But for me being personally responsible in a way for people coming to a show that I'm doing, I'm kind of taking it on a show by show basis. Like a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be announcing real soon, they're outdoor shows, and I'm kind of strategically trying to stagger them until later in the summer, and then fall, kind of getting back to some venue seated stuff. So we're still in the middle of an experiment, man. Like and anybody that claims they know don't.
Right. Do you have a pretty cool do you already have kind of like since you've been doing this a while, do you already have kind of a pretty cool like outdoor festival routine? Like, do you have several, like whatever they call it, like there's the Wildflower Festival or this festival or whatever, where it's already kind of built in that you've been doing, so you've got some automatic gigs coming up already?
I've done a handful of those throughout the years. Some of them are cyclical, but you know, by the way my album cycles has been, and kind of my writing has been, from a solo record to full band record to stripped down singles, you know, a lot of the festival stuff were full band lineups. And the next year comes around, I'm not doing full band shows. So some of them I hit, some of them I don't again.
Yeah.
Um, I'm kind of getting back. That seems to be my cycle. I've said this a couple of times already, but like I write a batch of acoustic songs. And all the songs start that way, but a lot of times when I'm writing for a full band, I have that in mind. But if I have a batch of acoustic songs, I'll go out there, I'll do the listening rooms, I'll do the songwriter showcase type thing. Mm-hmm. But after a few months, 6 months, 9 months, a year of that, I'm itching for the electric full band set. And then I'll put together the full band, write that batch of songs, go in the studio, do the album, get the van, hook the trailer back up, herd the cats. You know what I mean? Go out there and do it. And after a few months of that, lugging around all the heavy gear and my ears are ringing, I'm like, man, I just want acoustic shows again.
Right.
And so it's almost like the grass is always greener thing, but it seems to be my pattern. And I've just at this point kind of accepted it. And after this year of just acoustic stripped down, not seeing anybody playing solo acoustic into a camera, I feel the lighting of the spark of the full band to come back again. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I've got almost another album written. So I wrote during COVID. So
that's
we'll
really
see.
cool.
We'll see, man.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because I guess that if someone is just coming in right now and they missed the first part of our conversation, that's okay, because I guess we really haven't talked about, well, what kind of music do you play and your style? Listen, I've actually got another band as well, and I'm typically not what you would call anywhere near a country artist. I'm not. My voice isn't there for it. It's not my style. I like country music. I listen to it. But I think there's such a more broad depth of what that looks like. And when I listen to your tunes, at least the acoustic ones and even the ones that I'm listening to on Spotify, I mean, it is, but it's not. I mean, to me, you're a singer-songwriter. You write good tunes. It's got great beats. The guitars sound great. So putting a classification, I guess if you had to put one on, it's sort of that folk Americana rock to me. But what would you say your style is?
I gave up a long time ago trying to define it, man. And I think a lot of it has to do with I haven't really picked a lane myself consciously, and nor do I really want to. Whatever I'm kind of consuming, whatever kind of music's on my radar at the moment, and it kind of seeps its way in, and then when the writing happens, whatever comes out comes out. But yeah, I think Americana gets thrown around quite a lot. I still don't know exactly what that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it a songwriter with a band behind it? And whatever they want to call it works for me.
What I know, this is really I think about this, and maybe this is like not a great example because he's 80s / sort of pop rock, but I honestly, the first thing I think of Americana is I think of John Mellencamp. I don't know why, I just do, but I mean, to me that kind of fits. And I to a certain extent sort of feel like Bob Seger is, even though he's rock, but some of those songs feel like the heart of America, and it's good writing, and it's just a great sing-along, and it's like anthem singer-songwriter rock. I don't know. Who knows?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, whatever.
Sounds good to me. It's like, I just watched this Guy Clark documentary. Have you seen this one yet? Without Getting Killed or Caught?
I have not.
It's a new Guy Clark documentary.
Okay.
It's just incredible, man. So basically it hasn't been, well, I don't want to say that it hasn't been official release, but they were doing these pre-release showings staggered of like a few weeks apart, and they've been doing this for like the last 3 months. I believe the last one was like April 26th, and I caught the second to last one. Mm-hmm. And a new documentary, all this old footage, a bunch of great interview stuff of, with Steve Earle, and it was basically the golden thread of the of the documentary was Guy's wife Susanna's journal. So it was her journal entries, you know, and it was like I guess they hired somebody because you know Susanna's passed away, and of reading her journal, and those journal entries were so poetic. It was like a novel. It was beautiful. And
Yeah.
then the movie was then live footage from those um things that she was talking about in the journal. But the reason I brought that up is because, you know, they were always trying to peg what Guy Clark was too. Like, he's not a country singer. He's because of what he is, but he's not. And I mean, he really said it best. He's like, I'm just Guy Clark and I just play Guy Clark songs. And as noble or as like ego driven as that could come off to some, it just sounded perfect. It made perfect sense to me because there's this natural instinct that humans have that they want to define things. They want to say that looks like this, and so that makes sense to me, and I can move on. And then you know, it's human instinct. There's but when it comes to music, I think that especially recently, it's the genre lines are becoming more and more fluid, and I think that's a positive thing because I think most musicians have been in some kind of scenario along the way where they've been either forced to do something or they needed the money and they took a gig. There was something that they didn't particularly want to do, but for whatever reasons they felt like they had to do it. And they wouldn't want to be defined their whole career by that one thing, like you try this, you do this. And I kind of subscribe to that theory, man. It's like, I don't know what the next record will be for me. Yep. It could be a heavier rock and roll record, and but at the same time, the way I write songs personally is like I could take those same songs that I wrote for that rock and roll band and always still perform them with just an acoustic guitar.
Yep.
So to me, it's just songs.
I feel the same way, and I have a hard time telling people, and I actually don't even tell people. I'll tell you what the hardest part for me is when I'm having to fill out the damn publisher notes for Spotify or whatever, and they go, "Which artist do you sound most like?" And I'm like, I don't know. Me?
I don't even fill them out, man.
I'm like, I have no idea. It's like,
my publisher hates that too. He always calls me. He says, what should we put for this? I'm like, man, the last few that I did on my own, I didn't put anything, man. And
right.
You have to put some. It's an algorithm. It's a thing you got to do. I'm like, you're like, well,
yeah.
But I feel that's a hard one to do.
And for me, I'm kind of all over the place. Look, I was born and raised in Texas, but I am, I caught the music bug really young at life, and my first love of music was Van Halen. So for me, it spans generations of different types of things. But my parents loved 50s music, and so I love the Temptations and the Four Tops and all of the Motown sound. And then when I found my own style, I was like, okay, I was just on the cusp of the 70s to 80s. All of a sudden I found out about a band called Pink Floyd, and I was like, oh my God. And so that became everything in my world. But I still have listened throughout the years. I went through grunge 90s, man. Soundgarden, Tool, and Rage Against the Machine are still three of my favorite bands.
Sure.
But I don't write music like that. Stuff I write's, more singer, songwriter, acoustic, whatever. But I've got some rock. I've got like the next single I'm putting out, no lies, straight up a sappy love song. It's just straight up sappy love song. But I love it, and I can't wait to share it with people. What are some of the let's talk about your last single. I mean, it's doing pretty well on Spotify, and I know that you're getting more attention with the live stream. How many records have you put out so far?
I put out 3 full records, and this single, the last single I put out, Let It Pass, was the first time I've ever released just a single. That seems to be the new formula. Even if you are putting out a record, they'll put out 3 singles kind of staggered and then release the record that's including those 3 singles. But this last single was a standalone. I got an email from Cavity Search Records out of Portland, Oregon, and they were putting together a compilation record of a handful of songs from different artists on their roster, and asked me if I want to be involved with it. I had had a previous um, relationship with them from the last full band record I put out. But long story short, I was already familiar with them, and they asked me if I wanted to put a song on it, and I had actually just got done recording "Let It Pass," which initially when I wrote that one, I've said in a couple of interviews that I thought it was a throwaway. When I think about it, I don't know if that was exactly the case. What I mean by throwaway is like when you get done with it, you're like, okay, there's something here, but like it's not keeping you on fire enough to like keep diving into it. But I remember after I wrote that, when I sent it to a friend of mine down in Mississippi, we have a Dropbox folder that we're always sending songs back and forth to.
Yep.
Almost explicitly for this reason, that I felt like it was, that maybe there's something here, but I'm kind of moving on to the next thing. He called me that day and was just like, you got to record this and you got to do something with it. And I'm like, well, let me work on another verse. He was like, don't change a thing, man. Just record it like it is. And you need another set of trusted ears.
Yep.
And if you're lucky to have that, any songwriters that are listening to this especially, don't let that go, man. As somebody that's had that and then not had that and lost friends along the way, man, that set of trusted ears that knows your work, that knows you, that knows when you're phoning it in, and that has the can leave the ego on the other side of the door when they're listening to your work, and can shoot you straight whether something has legs, and don't let it go. That's what this one was. And I followed his uh steadfast advice. I recorded a demo of it. Day after that, I get the email from Cavity Search saying if I wanted to be involved with it, to send me any songs, to send them a few songs that maybe we could go back and forth on and try to pick one. I said, well, I just recorded this one yesterday. I sent it to him. He emailed me back the next morning, said, don't send me anything else. Just record this one, and perfect. So it's sometimes the flowers arrange themselves, like I've said that a handful of times lately, and every time it feels right, because especially with this song, it just really fell into place, and I got out of my own way.
That's really cool. I'm glad to hear that too. It's just, you talk about having that trusted set of ears, and I definitely have two for sure people that are in my life. As a matter of fact, I just sent it to them I got a couple of songs out, and I actually feel kind of bad because one of them, they both told me exactly what they thought, and they were both pretty much on point. And I wanted to go back and change a couple of things. And I was like, I kind of can't now, but normally I listen to what they say and I go, yes. I mean, having that is absolutely a must. And I'm glad you have it, because I know I have it, and it's a great feeling.
Yeah, man. A simple shared Dropbox folder in this day and age is pretty easy to set up.
Yep.
And every now and again, I'll get a little ding on my phone that he just dropped one in there, and I'm like, all right, throw the headphones on, listen to it. I'm like, oh, I got to step my game up. That was a good one.
Yeah.
It's a friendly competition thing too. That's healthy, man. I think it's healthy. But then on top of that, so I recorded that song, and that was the first one that I did here from my home studio that was going to be an official release. And I wanted to keep it stripped down, so I don't have the space to record live drums or anything here. And I knew this one was going to be a stripped down song, so I recorded that one here, mixed and mastered it here, and I purposely wanted to keep this one in house and not have a bunch of hands on it. but you know, at the same time, we had a release date for March of last year, that, and we decided to push it back because you know, the world was on fire, and pushed it back to June, and then we're going to push it back again. I said, dude, let's just release it. Like it's a single. Let's just release it.
Well, as
And
everyone in the audience can see, you've got, I've been posting up the social media, platforms already. And I want everyone to know, listen, I'm going to play later tonight after the interview, when we go strictly to YouTube and Twitch, I'm going to be playing a couple of videos from Travis. And man, he's got, the tunes are great. And by the way, if you haven't already checked it out, because I know I've already told a few people, hey, to go check you out. His live stream is fantastic. And like you said, it's Wednesdays and Saturdays, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Here in Texas, it's 5 p.m. Central. But he gets on, he plays for about an hour. Sometimes he goes a little longer and just sits down, acoustic guitar, has a great sound. So you guys really need to check him out. So we're going to check out that video here a little bit afterwards, after the interview's over. Hey, so we kind of touched a little bit on the type of style you are, but you said something that, kind of rang in my ear, and you're like, man, I kind of listen to everything. It depends on my mood, and I might be into rock mode after that. So I thought if you got just a few more minutes, I kind of have this thing where I like talking to musicians about their style and what their musical tastes are, because it always ends up being pretty fun conversation.
Let's dive in. I've been all over the place recently. So
all right, so here we go. I don't want to use the band that you hate, so we don't have to say that. But what band do you really just don't like? Like you just go, or you flip the dial and you go, man, I can't do that today.
Let me think here, man. I'll tell you one that's not constant. Though I'll just say I like to go on instinct and first reaction. And this isn't 100% all the time, because sometimes I get in the vein and I can really absorb a lot of their music, and you're gonna hate it because you got tickets for them. My man, Steely Dan.
Really? Okay, I'm all right with that.
Man, look, it's sometimes when it comes on, it's just like, this is making my brain hurt, and I need something that can. But when I'm ready for it, and like at the same time, I'll seek Steely out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got to be. There's some struggle where it's got to be on my terms when I, you know what I mean? There's some, like, I need to be the one hitting play on that. If it's on somewhere else, sometimes I don't know, man. It's that's a funny one for me. But musicianship wise, the cream of the crop. You could save the hate mail because they're a fantastic band, but yeah, just for me, man, it's I gotta be in the mood for it.
No, I understand that. They're on a list for me where it's like I kind of can't stop listening to them. They're always in my car. But for me, I love that musicianship of the band, and the fact that they were a studio band first for years, and just how technical they were. I think that's what made me fall in love with them.
I just watched a long video that broke down the amount of takes and tracks on one of the Steely Dan tunes. Yes. And I think it was one of like the head engineers for Pro Tools, because they called Pro Tools and they were like, while they were recording, I don't even remember what song it was or what record it was, but they were like, what's the max amount of tracks that you can have on a track, And Pro Tools was like, we're not sure. We don't know if it can be maxed out. And they're the band supposedly that figured out how many tracks it was. And then Pro Tools had to come back with like an update that for the next round of Pro Tools that like they had an answer for it because Steely Dan maxed it out.
That's funny. I believe it too. Donald Fagen's just got that kind of weirdness about him. All right. So how about this? And to help you along with the question, I'll tell you mine just because it might set the stage. Most overrated band. And I'll tell you mine. And again, it's kind of in that genre that I get why people like them. I don't get it. I think it's not my thing, and I don't get it. And I think the most overrated band is the Grateful Dead for me. I appreciate them. Sure, I get it. But I don't at the same time. And maybe I'm a generation too late. I'm 47, so I could be, maybe I'm too young for that. I don't know. But what would you say for you? You think out there, you just go, man, no, it's not it.
I, I I honestly don't have one, man.
Yeah,
And,
okay,
and I'm not saying that to play to do the PC dance.
that's
I
cool.
think there's room for everybody, man. And this is the only, there's a backup, there's uh a kind of a dugout answer here too, because there is so many times where like Grateful Dead's a perfect example for me. And this is why maybe, 15 years ago, maybe 18 years ago, I was like, what is that? Those are awful recordings. Like, if that was on somewhere, I'm like, who is that?
Right.
Then it clicked for me. And that's why I'd said the same thing about Steely Dan. It's like, it could be a year from now where I hear that on-ramp song that I didn't know was theirs, that opens the door and unlocks the key. And the whole time, this thing, anything, it's hard to deny longevity of career of anything.
Oh,
so with me, it's if this amount of people are touched by this, put the music aside for a second, like I salute that in a way that's like almost as important as the music. Like, and almost is the key word there. Like, to me, the music's the top thread. But these people that have been doing it this long, man, there's a reason why. And Grateful Dead is a perfect one for me, because when I finally dove in, I started to understand. And a lot of people, a song of theirs might be an on-ramp. It could be
an experience.
It could be an experience. A lot of times it's a person that you really either respect or they're just the guy. You know what I mean? They turn people on to stuff. They know the stuff before you do, whether it's music or whatever it is. And then they sit you down, they play you, they're like, you know what you need to hear, and it's whatever it is that gets you into that. It's there. So it's either the song or the person. When you're younger, a lot of time it's like the kid's brother down the street that's got the cool records, and like that was the thing. Now with the internet, everything is right at your fingertips. So I don't know, man. Overrated. I think there's room for everybody, man. But I can see why you said that. But I have a feeling that at some point you're gonna get bit by it, and it'll be funny to come back and listen to you here.
It probably will be. Actually, now you got me all whatever. I have fun with these questions because I always get a different response. Now I think I'm gonna have to scratch that question because now I feel bad about it. No, you're right.
Don't at all, my friend. Don't at all. It's just the only thing I know for 100% fact in this world is that I'm not 100% about anything.
Well, I might be able to pull out a couple of more, but no, I get what you're saying. And look, I've got a couple of friends that are really into it. I felt that way for years. I'll tell you another one though, that I caught the bug later, and now I appreciate them to no end, is that I never really liked the Beatles that much. But I think it was because that was definitely a generational gap thing. Like, my parents really liked the Beatles, but I grew up I had other stuff, man. I had, Rush and Pink Floyd and 70s rock and ZZ Top and Texas stuff. And I wasn't into it. But as I got older, and plus my wife loves the Beatles, I started listening again, but I didn't listen to the hits, like the early ones. I started digging into the catalog and going, damn, these guys are great songwriters.
Yeah.
And it just made sense to me. And then it made me appreciate all the other stuff. And then I started watching a few documentaries and realizing that they were pumping out like 3 songs a week for the first, and they'd have them done and a record would get cut and then they'd be out on tour. And it's like, oh my God, just unbelievably, you cannot deny their greatness in any way. But
and even playing those, 7 nights a week in Liverpool early on, cutting their teeth. That whole Malcolm Gladwell thing of putting in your 10,000 hours, like they did that well before
Yeah,
the real success took off. But um, the barrier for entry for the Beatles with me was the fidelity of the records.
I agree.
Um,
Yes.
and because especially when I was starting to record, everybody's goal was how clean can you get it? Like you wanted to get, you know what I mean? It's like you want a crispy vocal. And I don't mean a dry vocal. You just want everything to have its place, panned out, and it's clean. Look how clean we can get it. It's not shitty. It's not this. It's not on tape. It's not on. Well, it's like we can get it clean. It's hilarious now to think about because now the outboard gear that I'm buying here is all tube, LA 610.
Right.
I'm trying to dirty stuff back up. Everything's too clean. You know what I mean? And so that's again the point of like, and I thought with 100% conviction back then, I was just like the fidelity of these records is just I didn't understand. I only had a lot of time was a 4-track.
Yeah.
Or with 2 knobs, the Tom Dab stuff. Like so they did what they could with what they had. And when you really look at the history of it and see the limitations they had, it is mind blowing what they got done within those limitations.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I get it. I mean, I went to go right before the pandemic in September of 2019. I got the pleasure to go see Paul McCartney live here in Texas. And man, I tell you what, hands down, got to be top 3 concerts I've ever seen in my life. It was unfreaking believable. I just loved it. All right, so let's do a couple of more that might be a little bit more defining that I know I can get an answer from you.
all right.
What's the band that made you love music?
I really think, again, trusting the instinct. As you can tell, habitual overthinker. You know what I mean? Don't peg me in the corner and ask me for an answer. I need 3 days, man. I need 3 days to think about it. I need the first day to really think about it. I need the second day to overthink about it and be mad that I got asked that. And then I'll give you a solid answer on the third day. And I'm sure there's some people listening that know exactly what I mean. Fellow overthinkers. Gut instinct is the Allman Brothers.
Okay, that's. I mean, I actually love the Allman Brothers. I've got songs that I've actually had to redo because I thought they sounded too much like an Allman Brothers song.
That's a damn good problem to have there, my friend. So I remember that guitar harmony early on, and to kind of circle back around to a few of the bullet points that we've hit on, having that guy down the street, that kid's older brother I had an older brother.
Yeah.
Turned me on to Allman Brothers. I did, and along with, how powerful, man, and the gift of having an experience with the soundtrack at a certain age that is all cemented into being one thing. And it's, I grew up in Greenville, North Carolina, where East Carolina University is, and Atlantic Beach is about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. So those kind of early day trips of me and my brother and his Isuzu Trooper, surfboards up top, windows down, Allman Brothers on the radio, driving to the beach. It's like, it's early stuff that still sticks with me. So like, but at the same time, aside from just, that whole kind of experience being burned in my brain, the guitar harmony lines, even though there was a little bit of barrier of entry with the fidelity of some of those recordings too, but there was just a mojo and a vibe to those records and those songs that was just still. I mean, I just went back and listened to Eat a Peach 2 days ago. I was like, this is incredible, man.
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, it really is. All right, last one, and we'll get to the final part of the interview here. But what is the band right now? And it doesn't have to be current, it can be past, doesn't matter. But what's the band you can't stop listening to right now? Like you get in the car, it's on. You know, come into the house, it's on. You on your phone, it's the go-to.
Songwriter. It's a songwriter. It's a guy named Foy Vance. I don't know if you're familiar. He's just an unbelievable singer and songwriter. He just put out, he did a live stream documentary that's on Apple TV. Some people might know him. He had wrote a couple songs that Ed Sheeran covered.
Okay.
But don't hear that Ed Sheeran reference and think that's the same world that they're in.
Right. Right.
Foy Vance is like, how do you even describe it? Just like a true musician's musician.
Okay.
Unbelievable songwriter, one of the best voices I think out there. And to sum up kind of how, you know, it's been a while since I've been this big into a specific artist, but 2 years ago, actually it's at the end of 2019, he rarely tours the States. I think he's from the Highlands, and he rarely tours the United States, and he was playing in Atlanta. And I've bought a round trip, 1 day, 24-hour, flew from Wilmington to Atlanta, got picked up by a friend, went to the concert and flew back. Yeah. And it was worth every penny. It was one of the best live shows I think I've ever seen. And it was just him and a drummer.
Wow.
Just an unbelievable. So anybody that's out there that's looking for a shot in the arm or stuck on a song, or is looking for a surefire way to give up and never play music again, listen to Foy Vance. He'll do all the above to you.
Wow. Well, that's great. And I always put that up. It's the other thing I love talking to people about this. Why I ask the questions is because I always find out about someone new. The last friend that I talked to, he told me his band is the Decemberists.
Oh yeah.
And I dig them, but I went back though, and I kind of reacquainted myself with their other stuff. And now I'm kind of listening to them a lot now too. But isn't that what it's really all about? Is this is the part that's great. Like, we're talking about music. You're telling me about this guy you like. I'm really doing the same thing right now because I'm letting everyone know, hey, I was on Twitch. You know, I didn't even tell you the story how that happened. I was watching a guy who I was listening to as a DJ, and he has this other show on Sundays, and he calls it Twitch Finds. And he literally goes to the main page of Twitch and just looks, and whatever looks interesting, he clicks on it. And he went, oh, let's look at this guy right here. Here you go, Travis Shallow. Let's see what he's got going on. And literally, I was watching at that moment, and it was on one of your recorded live streams, and I was like, I got to write this guy's name down. I didn't know anything about you. And so I went back and I listened. I got on YouTube and I checked it out. But that was happenstance. That's how I came across your name.
Wow. Small world, man. But speaking of the Decemberists, that's super small world. So another friend of mine that's he's based out of Portland, Oregon. His name is Steve Drizos. He just put out a beautiful record called Axiom. He also released a single on the Cavity Search compilation record that Let It Pass was on. Uh-huh. And Steve is the husband to Jenny Conley Drizos, which is the Oregon player for the Decemberists. So it's very, very small world.
That is a small world. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember doing the first tour. Steve is also the drummer for Jerry Joseph and the Jack Mormons. They're another great band. And Jerry Joseph, another great songwriter, kind of a mentor of mine. I met him early on. But I remember the first tour I did with them that started in Portland, Oregon. I flew out there and got picked up, and the bus was leaving from Steve's house, and we get there, and they had just got done with like a little music night where they would have their musician friends over, and they set up little chairs and they had a piano in their living room. And it was cool because I think the first tour I did with them, I think I was like 21, 22. And fly there, get to their place, chairs are set up, piano there. And I was I'm like, what's going on here? It was just like, man, our musicians friends come over in a very Portland way, by the way. Beautiful Portland kind of way. All their friends come over and they perform a song every week on an instrument they don't normally play. And they like will do it in a certain way. Now some of the, you know, that December's crew or that kind of like that Portland kind of tight knit group. Now someone will come over and have like a John Coltrane piece and they'll like play it inverted on the piano instead. You know what I mean? So it's like, and they're telling me about it, and I you know, I thought they were just kind of like, you know, messing with me a little bit. Like, nah,
Right.
That's what they do, man. So,
Wow. That's, well, like you said, that's a small world, and it's a cool story to kind of wrap things up. So let's do this. It's kind of my homage, I guess. I don't say this normally out loud, but someone asked me the other day. It's my homage, I guess, to Jerry Springer and all the 80s fun and mockery and comedy that he always had. But if you had the final word is yours. What do you got for everyone? You got anything to promote? Songs, tours? Hey, if you just want to put out the social medias and say, all right, I'm out, then we're good too.
well, you know, these days my manager would kill me if I didn't hit the socials. So yeah, Instagram at Travis Shallow, Facebook at Travis Shallow Music is the URL, but just you can just search, you know, an easy Google search, Travis Shallow. Almost everything that comes up is true. And yeah, man, I've got I'm basically, and I haven't even told my audience this, so depending on when who's watching this in real time, I have been multi-track recording the live stream, and a live record is going to be coming out of that. So I'm actually mixing that and cherry picking songs right now. So I've got 116 episodes, so it's
a lot of material,
buffet of material to go through in multiple versions. You know, of course there's repeats, you know. So I'm going to be putting out a live record from that, and I've got a couple singles that I'm working on too. So no release dates yet, but be on the lookout for that. What else am I missing? TravisShallow.com. I got merch and physical copies and vinyl and all that good stuff. We run our store ourselves. It's a DIY operation. We want to keep it that way. And so, you know, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's you know, from a Twitch guy going to new stuff and then you seeing it from there and then circling back around. Look, there's a lot of crap things about the internet. This is not one of them. And this was a pleasure, my friend.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me on. And, you know, I hope we can stay in touch in the future, just from the perspective of, hey, I've met someone else now. And, you know, not that I'm an industry guy. I mean, I like to think that I am, because I'm putting out new music and trying to do the same thing. But I would love to be that guy if you ever gave me the opportunity to be that set of ears that says, hey, what do you think about this? And I could send the same thing to you. So
very cool, man. Let's do it. Let's line it up. Let's get a Dropbox folder going.
Get a Dropbox going. Well, I really appreciate your time. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, live at Chance's house, season 3, another episode in the can. This right here is our good friend, Travis Shallow. Check him out at TravisShallow.com for all the socials. Go to Instagram, look at Spotify, and here in just a little bit, I'm going to be playing that song, Let It Pass, the song from YouTube, and giving you all the information about what that is. Travis, thank you so much. Have a great day, my friend.
Cheers, folks. Thank you all for listening.
watch you waiting for things to fall into place. You stare at your screen and slowly buckle under the weight. Whatever happened to going down swinging, going down in blaze? I know you've had your troubles, these ain't the glory days. But you know, if it ain't meant to last, you gotta let it pass. Standing on stage and he remembers the path that it took. And the lights going down and he takes one last look. Whatever happened to living forever? Rock and roll never die. He knows he's had his troubles, the days are slipping by. But he knows if it ain't meant to last, gotta let it pass. Whatever happened to going down swinging, going down in a blaze? And I know I've had my troubles, and these ain't the glory days. Whatever happened to living forever? I thought I'd never die. And I know I've had my troubles, keeping